ponytail, and you blow dry your hair while you're transitioning, it reduces how much curly hair you have, requiring a lot more to be chopped off. So she'll be able to really keep a lot of the length in the front. And then, Travis, overall, how low do you think you're going to be going?
She has a couple of different textures, so you can tell she was applying more heat in other areas. So we're going to address that like after I get most of it cut, and then we'll go in and address this. You see this, Mom?
Yeah.
So,
Oh, Mama.
Yes.
Hey, Mama.
so I don't want to cut everything to this because it's only like 3 or 4%. So once I get most of it cut, and then I'll make adjustments with this. I might go and texturize it a little bit, you know, just to try to remove some more of it off without, because right here is where it's going. So we're going to address that thing.
Sure, makes sense. Okay, so just to elaborate on that a little bit more, she's got a section right here in the back that is really, really straight. And one thing to kind of keep in mind, as you know, others who are transitioning, if you're anybody transitioning? Big shop coming up soon? Nobody? Okay. Everybody's on natural. That's Atlanta. Everybody in Atlanta's there. But you got other folks, you know, in your family. A lot of us have other, you know, ladies in our life who are not quite there yet or want to be there. And obviously, the natural movement is a thing that expands through relationship. So make sure you let folks know that, you know, you never know what's going to be your area. If you do straight styles, that's going to be straight, or stay straight after a flat iron blowout. But what you have to do is keep in mind that that's the area, that's your guide. You have to cut down to at least that part. So that's what she's working on right now. She's got a section in the back that is going to gauge everything else. The beauty of it, though, is that it's in the back. And most of us associate length with the amount of hair we have in the front. So it's very nice that it's going to be an area you can kind of work around it, camouflage it, and sometimes you even let that section grow in. You don't cut it all the way down. You just allow it to work into the rest of the hair. Anybody have any questions about big chopping, transitioning, anything at all? All that? Okay, no questions.
I have a question.
Sure.
Let's suppose all of her hair was healthy all over,
Yes.
but she may have had a broken portion in the middle.
Like in the crown middle right here?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
How would you address that without having to cut all the hair down to the length of in the middle?
I'll give you my take on it, and I'll ask Lene and Shauna also. Did you guys see that question? What's your name, I'm sorry?
Teresa.
Teresa was asking, when you have a client that comes to the salon, and let's say that all the hair is textured, but you have a section in the middle, probably that lower crown area that breaks off. How do you give the client a haircut that doesn't require they cut all of their hair off or cut everything down to that section? One of the things that we've done in our salon, and we definitely see that happen, a lot of that comes from extensions. That's where we see that the most. But what we typically do is we will we'll taper in at the nape and clean that up, making it shorter but keeping as much of the length kind of in the neck area, and then blending here and here. So it's almost like we bring the haircut down. So this meets this a little bit more, maybe taking off a little length here so it doesn't jump from here to here. And then we'll bring the nape down a little bit, but you kind of keep your length coming into this area here. Does that make sense visually? You guys want to add anything to that, or say, no, that's not what we do? I don't do any hair ornament, so let's just keep it real with that. That's pretty much what we do. Shauna, any thoughts? Blending? Yeah, I'm sorry. Yeah, the technical term is blending. Travis, anything there? Did I come off like I know?
You did.
Okay.
Yeah, that's the key, to blend it. To blend it all in. With a good haircut, if that broken area is, for let's say, like 3 inches. The thing with styling hair, whether it's natural, straight, pressed out, if it's 3 inches on the broken part, and you want everything to get longer, the thing with a good haircut and a good style is it has to blend. I mean, start here at 3, but technical term, you over direct. You push the hair over here, and the guide stays stationary. You don't travel with the 3. Then you're gonna have uniform afro all over, a uniform layer. Keep the 3 here and bring everything up here. Then it goes from 3, 3 1/4, 3 1/2, 4, so forth and so on. So when you style it, when you twist it, everything falls behind one another. So whether it's getting shorter to longer, or longer to shorter, it has to, definitely has to blend in.
Okay. The reason I can tell y'all that, because I've been there personally. I did some color, horrible decision. It was pretty. But I had a chemical straightener, textured hair. Then I did some serious highlights, just way too much, before I really understood the characteristics of hair that happened to me. And I went into a salon and I was like, I really just don't want to have short hair. But I mean, it was an obvious leap from here to here. And I, just really took note as to how the cut was done, and that taught me a lot. So I knew from that point, but technically I want to make sure that was right.
I have a question.
Yes, ma'am.
Now, Mommy said that she went and got improper straightening at other salons, nowhere near Travis, Dowdy Salon, and Urbanbella Salon. But with this cut, Travis, if she were to come to you to get her hair, blown out and flat ironed, how would that translate into a straight style?
Again, it just has to make sure it blends.
And blends.
So whether it's naturally curly or whether I press it, as long as I'm taking from here as it's getting longer, then that's where it's gonna fall on sunstraight. It's all about the haircut.
Great.
Yes, ma'am.
Well, I kind of know the answer to it, but I know a lot of people ask the question as far as heat damage. Is there a miracle worker that can get your hair back curly? I get that question a lot.
In our experience in our salon, no. No. In our experience, no. There are some situations that we have encountered at Urbanbella, and Travis can tell us about his experiences with his clients. But we will put you under a steam hydrator to put the moisture back in. Typically what's lost is the moisture, the water. And sometimes that will help put the curl back in. Not to its original organic texture, but definitely better than bone straight. But hair is made of protein, and protein is changed permanently with chemicals and heat. That's like an egg, any form of protein, your hair is the same scenario. So that continual flat ironing of the hair transforms that, and it will get to a point where it cannot revert back. Of course, all of us are different. We all have different types of hair, different characteristics, different water levels, different levels of porosity. And I find there's no hard and fast rule as to whether or not you can do that. But I find hair that's in its best condition, properly hydrated, well maintained, seeing a professional stylist for cutting, coloring, anything of that nature, you got a better shot. But typically, we find with our clients, you have to really pick the lane you want to live in. It's either the straight hair lane or the textured lane. And not that there aren't exceptions, but you only know if you're one of them after you do it and find out that you're not. That you can't wear that. Your thoughts, Travis, on that?
Yeah, you definitely have to choose your lane. If you want to get your hair straightened, that's fine. If you want to keep the texture, that's fine as well. You just can't get it straightened. I mean, just visit the straight world every 8, 12, 16 weeks, you just can't constantly do it, or you will lose some of that natural texture. Because she's absolutely right, your hair is like 95% protein. That's what it is, but you'd also have hydrogen bonds in your hair, you also have disulfide bonds in your hair. And that's what you're straightening. When you go in with a chemical relaxer, what's happening is it breaks those bonds and it permanently straightens. So like a slinky, everybody familiar with a slinky toy?
Yes.
So the chemical, what it does is go in there and just imagine the slinky and you snipping off just bits of the slinky. Now what's going to happen to that? It's going to start stretching out and it's going to start getting straight. That's what's happening with a chemical relaxer. You're actually breaking those disulfide bonds. When you heat straighten your hair, you just temporarily straighten them. So the more you put the heat on there, the more they want to stay straight. So that's the difference. And like she said, it loves water. It loves moisture. That hydrogen bond loves moisture. So when she put her clients up under the moisture steamer, that's where she can get most of her curl back because it loves moisture. So when you straighten your hair, when you go out there with the humidity, that's why it blows up. That's why it does what it does, because that bond actually loves water. So that's what happens with chemical straightening versus heat straightening. That sulfide bond is just affected differently. So that's that. But definitely choose your lane, you know, where you want to be.
Okay. Any more questions?
If you do straighten it, are there any things that you can do to protect it, you know, to maximize, to keep the moisture in there?
Yes, you use good products. We came up with a shampoo system. So the first shampoo is called a clear shampoo, and it's sulfate free, so it's going to be less harsh. So it's not going to strip your hair of the natural moisture that's already in your hair. Typically, natural hair, African American hair, is typically dry. It's just what we have. And it's dry because of the sulfide bonds, and what happens is it links the protein molecules together. So the more disulfide bonds you have, the more it links the protein together. Therefore, the more you have in there, they just round around each other. And that's where all curly hair comes from. So it's hard for your natural oils to get through all of that. So typically, it's a little on the dry side. So with the clear shampoo, is we're not removing any of your natural moisture. We're not stripping your hair of the natural moisture. And then we have a replenished shampoo to come back with this, a no lather shampoo, to add even more moisture to your hair during the shampoo process. Then you put your conditioner on and seal it in. Now after you straighten it, then what you want to do is just add some product, maybe a heat protectant on there, because what you want to do is block the humidity from the air. So those are the things that'll make it last a little longer, and then you don't have to constantly put that heat on. You just want to block the, again, it loves moisture. So if you leave as much moisture in your hair from the beginning, if you add moisture in there, then it has less to attract from the air. It has less moisture to attract from the air. And then you put a blocker on there to sort of, you know, retain that, and then that'll make it last a little longer.
What's the safest temperature?
It depends on your texture. Okay, it depends on your texture. The new growth probably, you know, for the most part, can take a little more heat. So if you want to just go through your new growth first, and you go through the mid shafts and definitely the ends over the lower heat, that'll help. And the reason, again, with the two different heats is because it's the same hair, but your new growth has been on a little, this newer has been on a little less, so I hadn't had a chance to go through as much elements, as much damage, it hadn't been pressed as much, it hadn't been twisted as much, so it just had more things done to it. So I usually will put a higher heat just to go through the new growth, and I bring that heat down to go through the mid shaft and definitely through the ends. Definitely through the ends. Because that's the most coarse. It's been on your hair the absolute longest. So that's what I would do. Any more questions? Did we answer them all? Good? All right. Yes, ma'am.
If you're transitioning, thinking about transitioning, whatever, what about the extreme tender-headed person? I mean, extreme, sit in the chair crying.
That's me now. That was when you do my hair.
What you think?
When you're transitioning, even after the transitioning part, I think when you're tender-headed, it's important to work in small sections. And, you know, in our salon, we ask our clients, are you tender-headed? Because a lot of people think, oh, you grow up, you're over it. And your scalp is still sore from when you were 5. But just work in very small sections. I believe when you're tender-headed, product matters even more. If you, I can't walk into the grocery store and grab a product off the shelf. I never could, way before Urbanbella. I've always had to have the best detangler I could find. One of the biggest deterrents I find for a lot of parents, a lot of women going natural is I have a lot of hair, it's difficult to comb, and that frustrates me. How do I get through this whole head? Start in the back, hold it really, really tight, so let me borrow some, may I borrow your mom? This is Valerie, his mother. So, I'm just gonna show you what I would do on her. You can hear me, right? Okay. So, I would just take we take a section of hair, and we hold it at the root like this. So we have all of the hair, and I'm holding that fairly tight, but am I hurting you? Are you tender-headed? Right, so you can't ask a non-tender-headed person. But I'm tender-headed, and this would not bother me. And you hold it here, well, actually you hold it even closer to the end. You hold it as close to where you're gonna be working. You detangle the end first. Tons of conditioner on. You even can use a brush, like a D3 Denman or a D5 Denman. That's that brush, the base is black, the bristles sit in a red rubber thing, and the bristles are like a white, I think. Or the D5 is a big, broad